This is the Last Minute Blues Podcast with Donnie, Alex, Jeremy, and Jeff Burton.
It is the Last Minute Blues Podcast. Donnie Fandango joined in the studio by Alex Ferrario from 101 ESPN, Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic. Well, it finally happened. For the first podcast in like 3 podcasts, the Blues lost. I was thinking that we were the good luck for a while, man.
Well, that would make sense. I have a lot of good luck in my back pocket, typically.
When do you use it?
Never. Never, actually.
Just holding on to it.
Hold on to it to the off season, when you need it just in case.
Well, it's been, I tell you what, I think it was Saturday night when the Blues played Colorado. I was at a place off of Hampton called the Soha something or the other. It was a really great little bar grill kind of place. And just listening to the crowd throughout the course of that game was so absolutely, it's one of those things where it's full-on gripped the city at this particular point. People are going to bars to make sure they're not missing anything, and it's just a really great feeling as a fan. I
had a buddy that sent me a video who was at a bar. I don't remember which one he was at, but he sent me a video of he and his buddies, and there were people that were throwing beers up in the air when they won that game, and it's like, man, this is Colorado, and you're not even you're still in the regular season, and you guys are celebrating like this. But he's like, dude, everybody is gripped to this Blues team right now. He's like, everybody is locked in.
I'll give you an example. When the Blues play as well as they are, a lot of people, they come up to you, Alex, everybody, and say, how about those Blues, right? And so I communicated via instant messenger or whatever with a friend I haven't talked to in a while, and he said, how are you doing? I go, yeah, we're, juggling a lot of things. A tornado came through town, get some damage, trying to deal with insurance companies and work on that. He goes, yeah, I heard about that. But how about those Blues?
Yeah, man. The house is fine, but Robert Thomas lately, for the love of Pete.
Speaking of tornadoes, have you seen the Blues defense lately? That sounds about right, though. I get asked so much. My neighbor, who is a huge Blues fan, every single time I'm outside, he comes over and he's like, are they going to lose? And I'm like, I don't know. It's like that awkward conversation you have with them, but it just feels like 2019. Not saying it's going to be the same ending, but just now in the middle of that 11-game win streak. And I guess the difference, though, is this is happening at the end of the season. Mm-hmm. 2019 was in the middle of January where it was like, whoa, and then they would lose, and then you'd be like, oh, okay, they're back down to earth a little bit. This is happening going into the playoffs, and you knew it was going to happen. Frankly, I'm glad they lost that game against Winnipeg, because I don't think it would have been good for this team at all to be in a 15 or 16-game win streak going into the playoffs, or lose that last game of the regular season and then go into the playoffs. So it's get it out of the way where you've got a few more games to figure your stuff out before you worry about it again.
So one thing that I did over the course of the weekend, which one should never do, is after a couple of posts from various hockey pages that I follow on Instagram, I traveled down to the comment section.
Oh.
Right.
JR knows you don't do that.
Just a real rough ride. It is shocking to me.
What?
How not? No. The poison isn't shocking to me. It's shocking to me the number of things that I read about the Blues being lucky. I saw that word luck and lucky from a bunch of different people, including some pissed off Calgary Flames fans. But I'm just thinking to myself, guys, even if they win 12 games in a row against teams that are under 500, they still won 12 freaking games in a row.
Yep.
Now, that's not what happened. There were good teams in there as well. It's just very funny how sometimes those blunders come on when you don't like a team or whatever.
And also, it means you played really good teams before those 12 games. The schedule's pretty much the same.
Yep.
Within the division, I realize you play some different opponents, but you've played a great schedule all year long. And not only that, but I've talked to Chris Kerber about this. Alex, you probably think this too. I think that Blues travel schedule, that road schedule, was the worst I've seen.
Worst.
Worst.
It was the worst that... I think Curbs has said out of the 20 years he's been broadcasting for the Blues, it is the worst travel schedule he's ever been a part of.
Can I ask why? I know hectic and crazy, but just how the road trips were set up is what you're saying, and when they were.
And it's been condensed before because of whatever it be, Olympics or and All-Star game. But this year with the Four Nations, it was really condensed, and I just don't recall as many. You're in town, now you're back out of town. Mm-hmm. It was just a lot, and then recently, leading up to the trade deadline, there was a lot of 3 and 4, and I realize other teams are doing those too.
Right.
It'd be interesting to see the math who had the most of those. Or
Yeah.
some teams will have 18, 19 back-to-backs, and some teams will have 13. So there's a huge difference in some of the
And it was pretty crazy to me once that Four Nations was over, and then the schedule just hit that. I mean, it just went warp speed where it was the Blues were playing every other day for a couple of weeks. So that makes sense to me now. I just didn't know if it was like, you know how sometimes they do the thing where some teams where they do the mileage of how far they're flying over the course of the year. I didn't know if it was like one of those sorts of situations.
No.
But with the condensed schedule, that makes a hell of a lot more sense.
And I think it was a lot, too, of how little they were at home. Like, I don't know the exact number, but Curbs has referenced it, but from, like, November 13th until Christmas, I think the Blues were at home for maybe, like, 12 total days. Wow. So, like, they were on the road a lot, and that was pre-Four Nations break. Post-Four Nations break, I mean, they did 12 wins in 21 days. And there were road games in there. That was not 12 games played at home. And I looked at it, comparing it to that 2019 schedule. They did 11 games in 27 days. Now, the first of their 11-game win streak happened before the All-Star break. So they were off for a week and a half, and then they went on to win that next 10 games. But they did 12 in 21 days. So 12 games in 3 weeks. And think about that. They were on the West Coast. They came home. They go to Nashville for one game. They come back home. They go back to Canada. They come home. Like, it has been a lot of just you come home, you drop your underwear off, you pick up a new pair, and you leave again.
Right.
And, like, I don't think teams typically do that.
And, Donnie, like, you started out the question talking about the luck. I think Alex saw it on social media, the Colorado Avalanche.
Oh, yeah. He and I have had our back and forth over these last few days.
Donnie didn't see it, it looks like.
No, I did. I wasn't bringing it up because I didn't know that we could.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Oh, my God. So hold on, guys.
Yeah,
real quick. I just want to clarify something.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that if I say something asinine on a social media platform and people jump on top of me, it's the people that pointed out the dumb thing that I said, not me for saying the dumbass thing, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the way that it's supposed to go?
Alex, tell everybody what he wrote.
What a friggin' clown behavior this is.
So what happened? So this started actually because what we do is Grant Francis and I, we always like have the other team's broadcasts. Like we'll always go onto our NHL FTP and we'll pull their highlights because we use them on our game. And so at the time, Colorado and Calgary were they were playing against each other, and obviously Calgary's in this playoff race. So we pulled the audio from it, and Grant goes, dude, you got to hear this. And I go, okay. And they played the audio, and it was a Calgary game where Calgary came back and beat Colorado. And the broadcaster on it said, frankly, two guys that we've never heard of before, Ryan Klapka and Ryan Lomberg. And I looked at Grant, and I go, wait, Ryan Lomberg, like the dude that just won a Stanley Cup with Florida. So, like, Connor McGahey is the broadcast that we're talking about, and I think he does an awesome job. We've had him on our show before. He's a really fun broadcaster. But then when we played the Colorado Avalanche, he tweeted at the end of the game, he's like, the Blues are continuing to win with luck, and at some point that luck is going to go away.
And didn't he say something about the puck hits the post on the empty netter and goes in? What kind of luck is that? That's eventually going to go away. What skilled empty net shot have you seen?
Well, and it was beyond that too. Like it was the goals that were called to where like, and again, there's a little bit of Homer on the broadcast, but like he was saying like, oh, there was a penalty there, blah blah blah. But the one that got me was he put that tweet out, and I quote tweeted it because I'm just having fun with it because Blues fans, Avalanche fans, they don't like each other, and so I quote tweeted it and I said, they said that about another winning streak that I can remember, and look what happened. And then he was not happy because Blues fans pounced on it.
Guess who's not coming on BK?
Yeah, so guess who won't be a guest on our show anymore? And I think he's still upset about it because people have been cruel to him. And I told him, it's like, look, man, I can't control how people are passionate, but it's like you did call a Blues 12-game winning streak a franchise record all about luck. Like nobody was saying when the Winnipeg Jets won 11 in a row at the beginning of the season, that was all about luck.
I am going to professionally handle this situation right now and not say what is in my brain. All I'm going to say is that I hope in the end the Blues get a little further than Colorado, and I hope this guy at some point today gets a paper cut and then gets salted.
New nickname, Vendetta Donnie. That's what I like.
Oh, Vendetta. He's going to wear that, like, V for Vendetta mask.
Like, listen, I'm a sports fan. I hate, like, let's say the Nashville Predators. Yeah. I freaking hate the Predators, all right? The Predators win 12 games in a row. You win, You did it. I still hate you, but you did it. Congratulations. I think that it just drives me nuts, man, because I think you got to give somebody their flowers and their credit, even if you hate them, man. Like, that's, to me, how I respect you as a broadcaster or as a sports person, when you freaking call it the way that it is. And that, I understand being a homer, too. Look at what I'm here doing right now. I understand and I get it. But, like, there's a point, too, where I feel like, I don't know. I just don't. You lose credibility with me when you're not calling it the way that it is.
I should see if I can find the goal and see if we can get Donnie real riled up today.
And then, like, when you sent me that on Saturday night, I'm like looking at it like, this cannot be real. Like, this has to be like a parody account or something like that. Like, are you really serious that you're complaining because people are being mad at you on Twitter? All people are on Twitter is mad at each other for the most part.
That was the thing. It's like, hey, man, like, you put, because he deleted the tweet after he put it out there, and I can't see what people were commenting on it, but the part of me was like, hey, man, like, you said it, and we've got, like, and what's funny about it is, like, we always play the highlights, but at the end of the game, and Grant and I were like, hey, if the Blues beat Colorado, let's get the call from the other side. So we played all of the goals from the Colorado perspective, the final call, and people were loving it. Like, people were like, oh, my God, do more of this. And so now it's like, well, we kind of stumbled into a fun segment on our post-game shows moving forward.
But this is also one of the zillion reasons that sports is freaking awesome.
It's fun, man. That's what I told them. I said, hey, man, people are passionate. This is fun. Now, there's no reason to get dirty or violent with your comments to other people, which if people were, like, we don't want you doing that. No. But, I mean, that's the part of being a fan, right? You hate a team, and when they play against each other, you enjoy the hate.
Yeah, and now there's more intrigue. So we're talking about how the Blues just can't lose 12 in a row. They go up to Winnipeg, they lose. Now they're without Dylan Holloway. And, guys, this is, potentially serious. And this is, who would you say Holloway ranks in terms of Blues MVP if you're putting together a list? He's got to be top 2 or 3, right?
I mean absolutely, man. Absolutely.
3.
Yeah, so Thomas is in there, right?
Thomas is in there.
Benner?
I think I'd have Parayko above Benner.
Okay.
I mean, Benner's been awesome, specifically in this stretch. But
Parayko, this has been one of the best seasons of his career.
Even when he's been hurt.
Yeah, I'd put Holloway right there with, Thomas and Parayko, probably 1, 2, 3.
It's wild, though, man. I think I could argue about 5 other guys to being an MVP. Cam Fowler, Jordan Kyrou. Like, I could argue a lot of guys being an MVP.
Isn't that crazy?
Team.
I wasn't even thinking leading scorer as your MVP.
Right.
So it's been different. But without Holloway, we saw what it looked like the other night. And it'll be interesting to see tonight against Edmonton because, what do they look like coming off that Winnipeg game? Was that fatigue? Was it the streak finally caught up to him? Or how much of it is Dylan Holloway? Obviously, Alex, they had to reconfigure the lines, and they're going to have to do that. With Holloway, I'm hearing the injury is significant, and we know that it is when the team says week to week. Right, but as I tweeted the other night, the Blues, if it's a week-long injury or a 10-day injury, they're going to say day to day. If we're talking multiple 3-4 weeks, and that's kind of what I'm hearing with Dylan Holloway, and it's comes at the worst time of the year, right? And pretty obvious to say that going into the playoffs, being without Dylan Holloway, but you just don't know when he could come back. Could he miss the entire first round of the playoffs? Can the Blues get out of the first round? So it really is a situation of, have we seen the last of Dylan Holloway?
Man, when it happened, I didn't know what it was. Like, I just saw him get pinned on the board, and he winced, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, that can't be good. And so, but when they said it was lower body, Joey and I were like, is it a foot? Is it a knee? Like, who knows? Because he came back, and he did another shift after that hit in that game versus Pittsburgh. And then he just left. And it's like, man, what the hell happened? But, yeah, I mean, between your tweet and then hearing Elliot Friedman report on it on Hockey Night in Canada for Saturday, it's like, this doesn't sound like it's just your typical zinger and you need to let him rest up. Like, I don't believe he's on this road trip, which if it was a day-to-day thing, I think he'd be on a road trip with the team. The fact that he's back tells you that it's significant. The hope is that it's going to be until the postseason, and then you're like, hey, let's just really focus on you healing, and then by the postseason, maybe you're 75%, but we can still play you. Because if you don't have him in the playoffs, to me, you're in deeper trouble than what you were when you lost Parayko. And I don't mean to say he's a better player than what Parayko is. I just personally think they've got a system in place defensively that you can plug in guys and it doesn't look as bad. When you take a guy who kind of is the identity of the Blues forward groups in terms of his speed, his tenacity on the puck. You guys remember Jaden Schwartz. Schwartz was viewed as the guy that when he played, the team was always good. And when he came out of the lineup, it was like, whoa, they need Jaden Schwartz. Yeah. Jaden Schwartz was like Mr. Fix-It to the lineup. I think that's what Dylan Holloway is. When you pluck guys from other lines to fill the void of Holloway, other lines suffer. Like that game against Winnipeg, to me, you had one line that was consistent, and it was Nathan Walker's line. It wasn't any of the top three, and when Holloway's not there, it's because you're juggling lines.
Okay, so two things here real quick. One, and we're presupposing, but poor freaking Dylan Holloway.
I know.
What a great freaking year so far, and to have this be the thing towards at the ending or towards the end of the season I feel bad for him as a human. Also, too, I wanted to ask you guys this. To me, in watching that Winnipeg game, man, and I definitely want you to correct me if I'm wrong, but we just saw an incredibly well freaking structured team from start to finish in that game, and it just seems like they did not give the Blues any room to breathe virtually at all. I mean, it seemed like there were very few times where the Blues had extended presence in the offensive zone. I mean, so I understand Holloway not being there, a really big deal. But also how much of that loss is you're playing a really good team, and a really good team that probably wanted to make a statement against the Blues who they could play in the first round.
Just a second, Siri. Presupposing. What's the definition of presupposing here?
Did I make that up?
Big words. No,
I think I might.
No, that is a no.
It is a word?
I'm saying I don't know it. You know it. You're smarter than I am.
No. That is
you're
just
reading a
me
dictionary
making
type.
up. No, this is a version of English called Fandanglish. All right, I don't exactly.
That's a T-shirt.
Like I don't
great.
exactly know, but you know what I'm saying.
Presupposing.
Like-
Fandanglish.
How much is it that Winnipeg is really goddamn good?
Yeah, well, the thing about that Winnipeg game is they also did not have two of their top six wingers and their top four defensemen, and Neil Pionk.
Cool.
Yeah, so if you felt good about that, cool. So then it makes it even worse. Here's the
Now Donnie goes, when's Pionk coming back?
Yeah, Pionk. It's the sound.
That's the guy
really
that hurt Robert Thomas.
Yep,
That was his shot. Yeah.
So I mean, like,
Donnie, I hate him.
get him out of there. I don't think I've said for the longest, I don't want them to play the Winnipeg Jets. I think they match up fine with the Jets. I think they match up better against the Pacific Division. But Winnipeg is big. Like we talked with your colleague Murat Ates a couple of days ago before that Jets game, and we asked him, and he said, look, 2019, the Jets kind of knew they were going into it banged up. They weren't playing well. They knew they were going to be in for a hurt against the Blues. He said that is not the case with this team right now. He said this team feels untouchable. They're big. They're big down the middle. They've got depth. Their defense plays a very hard brand of hockey. And then Connor Hellebuck has been the best goalie in the National Hockey League. So I don't think the Blues showed their best cards in that game. They didn't have, of course, Holloway, who might not be available in the playoffs, but you also didn't have Parayko. You didn't play Binnington in that game. And I think the Blues suffered from fatigue. They looked like a team that was like, dude, we've played so much hockey. I don't want to play this style today. And I can't blame them for that. So I don't think they showed their cards. I still believe that the Blues are going to be the toughest team to eliminate from the playoffs in a 7-game series. But without Dylan Holloway, yeah, I think I'd like to avoid Winnipeg in the Central Division because I think Vegas doesn't have the same depth at forward that Winnipeg does, and I think you can exploit some holes on Vegas's team rather than the Blues and the Jets. But I don't want to presuppose.
The way I feel like I have to set this up is, yes, the Blues can beat anybody, but whoever it is, Winnipeg or Vegas, it's going to be very, very tough. Sometimes when you give a team, like, I think they'd be better suited to play Winnipeg, then everybody's like, oh, you're crazy. Did you watch them the other night? Well, yeah, it'd be tough to play any of these teams.
None of these are a picnic, right?
So I think that's first and foremost is any of these teams are going to be tough. The other thing is I would throw out that game against Winnipeg the other night. Like, let's not use that as a barometer of how they would match up against Winnipeg in the playoffs for the reasons Alex mentioned, no Parayko, no Holloway, which you might not have him.
No Benner.
No Benner. And then also coming off this long stretch of games and having a lot of success and just finally just going, woo, man.
Get it out of the way.
Yeah, so anyway, let's see what they can do. I'm not saying that they would have an easy time against Vegas. I'm just saying that, can you imagine playoffs come around and all of a sudden, it's the Jack Eichel show and it's hat trick. Vegas wins 4-1. We moved game 2, Blues Knights. Like, that's what can happen when you play stars in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And so, you got a team that can, what do they say, boat race you?
Yeah, boat race you. That's another Fandanglish.
Yeah. No.
I don't know that one. I don't know that one.
So if you play this Winnipeg team, they are going to be extremely tough to play. The reason I keep saying Winnipeg is the team that I would maybe want to play if I were the Blues is just that pressure is going to be crazy on Winnipeg. That's from the minute they took over the top spot in the league, which is what, going back to October, November, whenever it was, everybody has said, yeah, but doing the playoffs. Yeah, but doing the playoffs. Yeah, but doing the playoffs. So, I mean, they've got the past couple of years, and I just think that doesn't mean they're going to fold. Maybe they rise to the occasion, but it's tough to do in Canada.
And that's what Murat said, too. He said that there's a lot of pre-panicking about getting bounced in the first round by Winnipeg Jets fans. So if they're feeling that, the players might be feeling that.
But also, too, to me, if that team doesn't make it to, at the very least minimum, the conference finals, then to me, you know, man, I mean, it's easy for me to say I'm not playing in the games, but cool. You won the President's Trophy, or you ran the table. Neat.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Get 3 rounds at least.
It'd be, 4 straight years that they've only made it to the first round and then get bounced? Like, yeah, I mean, that core's not getting any younger, and you've got to do something with it. So, yeah, there's pressure, but I'd argue there's pressure on Vegas, too. Like, I know Vegas could feel a little invincible going into it because it's like, yeah, people aren't talking about them as much, and they might fall out of it, too. L.A. could catch Vegas, and Vegas has to deal with Edmonton in the first round, which even more is a matchup that I'd like to see. But, I mean, Vegas has got all of these guys that are making all of this money. They've got no depth, no draft picks in their pipeline. Like, you got to win cups before your guys get older. Petro's dealt with a lot of injuries this year. Theodore was dealing with some injuries. I know that they had some goaltender issues as well. And, like, you've got Jack Eichel and Mark Stone, who both have injury history. So, like, there's pressure on Vegas, too. Like, I think any team that has a first-place spot in their division is dealing with pressure because they've got the target on their back.
And also, too, and we should not discount this, Mark Stone is literally maybe the ugliest person on the planet Earth. That cannot help Vegas even in the slate. Stop it, Ferrario. You're a handsome son of a bitch. Get out of here. I won't even handle that.
We just spent 10 minutes ripping the Colorado guy, and he goes, Mark Stone is ugly.
Yeah, but you know what? At least he's healthy.
Listen, this is... Hey, we're not playing the LTIR game. Thank you very much.
He's not any unlucky injuries.
JR, this is just what I bring to the podcast, for better or for worse.
And by the way, I mean, you're sitting not too far from an ugly guy over here. And
what am I?
I might take offense to ugly people.
Look at me.
Jabs.
There is no person on the planet that is as bald as I am with as oval of a face as I do. And then also, when we record in this room, my lily white skin bleeds into this beige wall. So I'm not saying that I am saying I'm more handsome than Mark Stone. I'm just saying he's very ugly, but I am also on the ugly train.
Donnie Fandango
nailed
it.
I mean, Chimney.
I need to get a fat head of Mark Stone and put it behind Donnie.
Dude, there's no way.
Just tell him in the middle of the brother.
I would draw stuff on him, like, you know, boogers and mustaches and things. Okay, one question here to kind of crap. 2.
You got time.
Real quick. Parayko health. Do we know what's going on?
Well, I mean,
is he with the team?
He's with the team. He's been skating. I've always felt like he's going to play in this road trip, but when Jim Montgomery said, what was that, a couple of practices ago, where he was like, well, I saw some things that if you were to tell me he's good to go, I'd set him out. Part of me wonders if that's coach speak. But, I mean, I think he's going to play. I don't think he plays tonight against Edmonton. I think he plays Saturday versus Seattle, just because I think they're going to want to get some reps in, especially if you lock up a playoff spot or even if you get close to locking one up. You'd give him a little bit of taste of hockey again before the playoffs.
Yeah, I would think he might play one of these last 2, so obviously excluding tonight.
Yeah.
One of those last 2. And I would think that he'd be ready for game 1 of the playoffs.
All right, so this is not a question in which that I came up with. I wish I could take credit for it, because at this point it would have been a really good idea, and I'd look really smart if I would have thought of this first. But
because you didn't read his article.
Damn it, man, you don't got to throw daggers.
Oh, sorry.
You just don't. So the question is very simple, boys. Is the Blues retool over?
Yeah.
And I would like to answer first.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, there it is.
All right.
All right. Yes.
There it is.
All right.
I mean, look.
Podcast. We'll see you next Wednesday.
But I mean, seriously though, you look at the team, you look at the young core, you look at, you know, an off season where the cap number is going to go up, so maybe you got a little bit of financial help there as well. You've seen what the defense can do without one of your very best players. Mm-hmm. You're seeing these young guys like Bolduc and Neighbors just continue. Holloway, Kyrou has had such a great season. I would like for somebody to tell me how it's still a rebuild or retool at this point. I'm listening. I'm open. I'm not saying that I would refuse it, but look at what we're seeing.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, and I'll let JR go because we had him on yesterday because it was the piece in the mailbag. And, you know, BK and I in the office yesterday before our show, BK was like, I think the retool's over. And I said, yeah, I do too. And so that's why we went back and forth with it yesterday on the show. And I want JR to kind of, because you believe that it's still intact.
Yeah, for the simple reason that I'm going to make here is there's still steps to take. There's still things that need to be done. And you know, I traded some texts with you guys yesterday, and my main point, we could get into a few things, but my main point is this. Did people think the retool was over 2 months ago? No. Mm-mm. And if you did, I think you were looking at it, you know, with rosy glasses, right? What's changed in the last 2 months? They've gone on a good winning streak. And so it kind of gives this illusion that, okay, we're past all of that. Well, guess what? The Blues could get bounced in the first round of the playoffs, and then they start next October. And I'm just making this up, but this veteran looks older, this guy coughing up the puck, and then you still have all these guys under contract next year and even beyond, a couple of them. And so I think that we have to understand that Doug Armstrong still has some moves to make, and this is not the team that they're going to win with eventually. Now, Could they win this year and go a couple rounds and surprise people? Could they win the cup? Okay, anything's possible. But in 2 or 3 or 4 years, and I'm not saying the retool is going to last that long, but this roster is going to look a lot different. And you're going to say, okay, Snuggerud's pumping in 30, Dvorsky, okay, retool over. This is the team that could compete. And then if you say to yourself, well, weren't they out of the retool back in April of 2025? No, back then they still had Leddy, they had Krug on the roster, they had this guy. So there's so many things that still need to be transitioned. And also, I firmly believe that as good as this team looks with the way it's set up, you're still going to need a big free agent or two to come in and you know, pump a scorer. You need a goal scorer, right? Like you got Kyrou, you maybe got Snuggerud. We'll see if he can do it. But all teams usually need some sort of free agent or a big trade to come in and push this team over the edge. Now, the last thing I'll say is we can sit here and debate what's the definition of a retool, and you can say what the Blues have accomplished so far is the retool, and they've gone past that point. Now they're to the point where they're ready to take it to the next level. So if you're going to split hairs on what the definition of a retool is, yeah, you could say that they're kind of past that. But I look at the end of it as more of a finish line, and now you're going to win with this team. And also, if you say that they're past the retool, it's over, but they still need to do this, and this, then if you're naming things, that's not the end of the retool. Yeah. And the quickest, easiest analogy I can make is like this. Hey, did you clean your house? Is it all spick and span? Yeah, but I still got to move that couch, and I still got to sweep up that room in there, and then we got to change a cat litter. Well, if you're naming stuff, then there's still stuff to do. So, things are in place, but there's still a lot to do. Yeah.
Can I tell you a genuine thing? I don't mean I don't mean to interrupt you. One of the very best parts that I love about working with JR, and this is sometimes like not the easiest gig to have.
Amen to that, JR.
Is being the rational one in the room. And I'm not saying that you're not, because I know you are, Alex. But I mean, like, I get so, you know, man, like the fan in me does not stop to think about Leddy, Falk, even Krug. Still, I mean, I didn't even have that in my head as I was answering euphorically, yes, it's over, we're past it, let's go. But it makes all the sense in the world.
But it doesn't mean I'm right. No, and it doesn't mean that those things can't get fixed quick.
And it doesn't mean that even if you are right, that it's a bad thing. Yeah. I think it's awesome. I mean, I think if you're looking at this team right now and you're going, we're good and we're still building, buddy. I think to me, that's even more exciting. Yeah. You know, you're talking about adding I mean, so... You know, sometimes the rational can like bring you down a little bit, but in reality, it doesn't, because they're just trying to do this the exact right way, and so far they have.
Yeah, well, and what's wild about it too is I was on your side, and I am still on your side. Like, I believe the retool is over, and this is where JR and I think I do define the retool a little bit different than you.
Different, right.
And that's where it comes down to, because to me, I think this season answered a lot of the questions that you still had about the roster. You've got the coach in place. There's no questioning the coach in terms of leading this team. Like, I could see Jim Montgomery being the guy that wins a Stanley Cup for him. To me, I had a lot of questions about what does Robert Thomas look like. There's no more questions there. Now, he could have his ups and downs, but I think it's obvious he's a star. You've now got the depth of scoring in terms of a Dylan Holloway. Now you've seen Zach Bolduc take the next step. On defense, Broberg and Parayko look like a legit 1-2 punch, and your goaltending tandem's in a good spot. Can there be changes? Absolutely. But I look at it as, say, you've answered a lot of the questions that I didn't think you had the answers to last year, and I didn't know where those answers were coming from. Who was your number 2 defenseman? Can Thomas be a number 1? Do you even have a guy who can score 30-plus goals with the exception of Cairo? And I didn't trust the Drew Bannister as the head coach. So that's where I look at it and I say, hey, man, even if there's still things to be done, you're no longer talking about gaining assets and trying to put this team in a position to start having success. They had the success. Now the expectation next year is you should be in the playoffs.
Well, and I think, again, splitting hairs here, guys, but the basis of what we're all talking about and agree on is that there is a good foundational core here to build on, and the building is just still, in the process of happening. Some of us just a little high on him right now. That's just all it is.
That's why I say that it's been sped up big time.
Yeah,
like
that's a great point.
So that's the thing. I mean, we can all talk about Holloway and Broberg. That's sped it up, right? But yeah, like Alex says, Bolduc's development, things like that. But those bigger pieces like Thomas, even when he was struggling, I still felt he's number 1. He's a guy like he's going to come out of this at some point. Buchnevich, same thing. So I felt like there's some big pieces already in place, and now you're getting some good responses from some of these guys that you maybe had question marks about. So there's all kinds of things in play. I just feel like XYZ you still got to take care of, and then
well, and that and again that does make sense too. And sometimes every once in a while, I need to dial it back.
No, you stop presupposing.
I need to stop presupposing. I really do. All right.
If you dial it back, I'm done doing this.
I was going to say, when you dial it back, we stop the pod.
We're done.
That's very kind of you to say. Gentlemen, thank you very much for hanging out here today. Thank you very much for listening. We have got, we are just not too far away.
Hopefully next week on the episode, we can talk about clinching a playoff spot and know who they're playing.
And it's just an absolutely exciting time to be a Blues fan. For our homeboy, Jeff Burton, we've got Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic, Alex Ferrario from 101 ESPN. I'm Donnie Fandango. As always, let's go Blues!
The Last Minute Blues Podcast. Hear more at 1057thepoint.com.